how did I not mention how powerful the curse was last time? Since the previous episode, the curse seems to have taken a break, probably resting from revealing an entire toy line at Comic-Con the second I did a reveals video. Doesn't seem to have happened yet this time at least. I say tempting fate. But I'm sure the curse will be back soon and stronger than ever. And before getting into this video, we might actually be on track to hitting 14K subscribers by the channel's 3rd birthday on August 8th if this growth continues like it is. At the very least, we're looking to get close. So if you would, your likes, please give. And if you enjoy this video by the end and you aren't subscribed already, please consider it. Anyways, do you know what time it is? Time for Titan Class Nemesis. I know a lot of people had a good degree of consternation about this thing, and I was not one of them. I have been uncharacteristically singing the praises of this thing since it got revealed. And you know what? With all that hype that I made for this thing in my own mind, I can honestly say, I did not hype it enough. I am utterly smitten with this thing. I love it. Oh my god, this thing is good. I can't say for sure if this is the best Titan I have, or if it's Omega Supreme, but I can tell you that this for sure beats Trypticon, and it beats the ever-living daylights out of that piece of shit Arc. This is everything that figure should have been. Starting off in alt mode this time, because this is how it comes, and I think there are important things to point out about the transformation going into robot mode. Also, fun fact, for those who don't know this yet, and haven't heard me explain it before, Nemesis is the Greek goddess of righteous retribution, and is likely why this figure is a woman. Sadly, it's not Lodestar as I wanted her to be, because I think there's just so much potential baked into that concept. How interesting would it be if an Autobot Titan was converted into the Nemesis? Was she brainwashed? Did she just change allegiances? Is someone she cares about being held captive? Or is someone standing next to her brain with a pokey stick? Is she even conscious? I love what we got, and I'm not mad about it, but man, the possibilities there are just so high. Same with the Arc, though that piece of shit did suck hard enough to make me stop caring. There's some mild assembly required when this comes out of the box, and unfortunately for most of you, you didn't see the live unboxing I did on my Patreon server during the weekly Friday hangout. I honestly wish I recorded that. All of my patrons were saying how cute I was handling this, like a little kid on Christmas. And you know what? I feel it. Because with every gimmick, every Easter egg, every click and snap, I was living when first handling this thing. I even started swooshing it around, going, meow. Hilariously, when I went to do that, I was holding it in the wrong hand, so I swooshed it backwards, because I am an intelligent person. I also held it like a gun and started going, go, 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 go. This is the dream, man. This is why we're all collectors. The reaction that I had to this thing is the reaction we all hope for with each new toy we buy. I was transported to being 5 again, and the world melted away for a beautiful moment. Now that's all subjective. Let's talk about why this is objectively better than the Arc in like every way. Well, for starters, it has action gimmicks, aside from the deployable ramp on the Arc, which was the best feature that thing had, otherwise it really did nothing. This actually does stuff. It also has a deployable ramp, though to be fair, it's not spring-loaded. It does connect to Earthrise ramps though. You know, there's probably someone on Etsy or something who's making these as just flat pieces of road and is selling them like Legos. I would buy a lot of those. Also, unlike the Arc, which for some unfucking knowable reason had the cannons be separate pieces that were not only keyed, not only glued in, not blast effect compatible, but they were also inserted from the bottom for no sane reason, resulting in a cutout underneath each gun. So they were both effectively useless and ugly. This has guns that, while you have to cut them off of a weapon tree yourself, are pegged into the top of the ship through regular ports, meaning they can actually swivel, they're actually blast effect compatible, and while they're potentially losable now, you can actually replace them with whatever gun off of a regular figure you want, meaning you can upgrade her armaments with no extra effort. Also, at this point, I don't know what filming for this figure is going to have been like till now, but if you haven't been seeing it this whole time, you can actually split the lower fin in half and have it rest flat on the bottom, looking like the Decepticons' underwater ship base, which hilariously was not the Nemesis. Apparently, they didn't rebuild it when they got to Earth, they built a new ship called the Victory, which isn't confusing in this fandom at all. Also, it has these little slide-out docking ports, which are both nowhere near long enough and not the right shape. But they do have these fun little tiny seekers that are mounted to it. You can detach these just to show off the scale of this thing. I'd prefer it if these were cylindrical, but it's far from a deal breaker. However, in this mode, these are frustrating to get out. They have these sliders in robot mode, but here, no. One of mine just falls out when the door is open, but the other one you absolutely need a tool for. Frustrating, but not the worst thing that can happen to you. And then this thing is just covered in blast effect pegs and ports. One of the first things I did with this was using all of the ones facing down to do a vertical launch. But they're just slathered on every inch of it. On the guns, on the sides, on the wings, in the thrusters obviously, even the screw holes are the right size for it. So you can just make this thing look like it's going to war. It's firing from portcullises. There's hits all across the starboard side. I have no idea what the starboard side is. Cannons are getting blasted off. The bridge is nailed and it's just gone. But she's still able to fly herself. I don't think there's ever been any other figure released with this many blast effect ports. This is just so much fun on its own, and it really sells it as a playset, even if it can't open up. Too bad these nubs aren't compatible with Headmasters though. And obviously this thing looks great in just about any configuration. Likely due to all of the no massive gaps it has for no reason at this price point. Looking at you, piece of fucking shit, Arc! It never shows a flaw, no matter how you have it set. My favorite thing to do with this is to basically place the nose cone of this thing pressing into my cheek just below my eye, which I can do without hurting myself because it's made out of clear plastic that's also rubber and also been painted. Why has no one thought to do this before? And then I can stare down the side of the ship mode, which makes it just feel so awesomely big, like it's the start of Alien panning across the surface of the Nostromo. And did I mention how fucking huge this thing is? This almost can't fit on the biggest shelf I have. It's like a third taller than the Ark here, and it's taller than Omega Supreme and Toy World Devastator. It is a beast of a thing, and it feels oh so worthy of the money. The only thing that I don't like about this whole mode is the red church windows on the underside of the nose cone. But outside that, this is an incredible mode. Possibly one of the best alt modes of all time. It does so much, looks so great, and feels so good. It's a playset and a half, while also being a vehicle and something we desperately needed. I can see so many people buying this thing just to make it part of a diorama. The detail is amazing, and I just love to handle it. Honestly, the plastic in hand gives me some Siege Optimus vibes, but at a much larger scale. And then, unlike the Ark, the transformation is excellent. The Ark was stupidly simple, with its only real problem being the flaps on the back that like to pop off, and its horrible fucking mutant cancer ratchets that feel terrible and famously break. This is complicated enough that it does just barely start going the other way though, where it's not like a Studio Series figure or anything, nor even an Advanced Leader, more a Voyager in complexity. But at this size, it does start to become a little frustrating just because of the effort involved in maneuvering it. However, the worst thing I can say about this is the shoulders. These are a problem. I thought for sure that they were locked together by some mechanism or tab I wasn't finding when transforming this, but it turns out no. The joint is just that resistant to movement, and every time I do it, I have to monkey strength this thing, just No child is strong enough to do this without parental help. And then can I mention that I adore the way her hands work? There's one flap on the legs that likes to fall off due to QC, so that's a bummer, and one flap that likes to fall off her arm too. I expect that this part will get replaced with an upgrade kit at some point. Make sure to spin the underside wing independently of the torso and hips. Especially going into ship mode, you will have to untransform this if you don't. And I should mention before you're done, you get an alt mode configuration for this thing that does look like an intentional, entirely different Decepticon ship. You can even play into it by removing the forward wings. And then the robot mode is just glorious. I love this thing. It looks so sick. Though I do question where they place this, entry point. I do not understand why they felt the need to put a door here, especially when this part is internal to the alt mode. They sculpted this for its own sake. And once again, it's enormous. Sure, she's a little gangly, but with the backpack and the huge shins and forearms, she looks like a bruiser. And this thing is significantly taller than the Toy World Devastator. It comes up to the same head height on him, but it's got all of these shoulders arcing up over the top, just feeling like it dwarfs him in size and presence. She's actually too tall for my big shelf like this. I don't know if she'll even fit in the big light box in this mode. While most of this girl is unpainted, what is high impact. She looks so cool. And yes, I understand why people hate these flaps so much. I too am not a fan. But the good news is that while you don't have to parts form them to transform her, you can parts form them off if you want a cleaner silhouette, and less interference on the arms. And what I love about this thing is that outside these flaps, nothing is unaccounted for. With the Ark, it was just kind of like they put a really skinny robot in a poncho made out of the ship mode, but everything here seems so purposeful. Anything that would have been kibble was incorporated into her design. So her legs have these big flaring wings, she's got a cool backpack that actually has a functional purpose and isn't just mass, she's got these big crests on her knees, just everything looks like it belongs, except for those flaps, which you can remove. And then the head. There is a bit of a turtle mouth going on, and then the whole blast shield head crest thing is both not cool enough, really hard to activate, and even worse to undo. It light pipes, but I don't actually hate it here. They do glow pretty good when properly exposed, but more importantly, the area around the eyes is painted black and large, giving them a sunken appearance, and against the lighter color of the face, they manage to stand out even in the dark when not channeling the light. So it's going to look good no matter what. Now, unlike any other Titans I have, this did not come with a minifigure as an accessory. Instead, having the aforementioned weaponry with the cannons and seekers, then it has these awful shitty little axes that make way more sense with smaller figures, and then she's got these kind of terrible, kind of good guns. While these flaps, like so much flabby skin hanging off the sides, don't do these any favors, the back end of them do a lot to sell the idea that these are Halo-esque guns. I love that they sculpted the parts of the shins where these come off of, so they look fine even when not covered by the wing segments. These can add to her cool factor. And then the posability. Oh my god, just forget about it. Can this please not be amazing in even just one category? You know how the Ark had that shitty head that could only rotate for no reason despite costing $200? Yeah, fuck that thing. Head here has a ton of down, even more up, side to side, rotation, and even some action. Arms on less offensive hot rod shoulders that could have been better if they just removed some of the material in this area, and they have a lower joint that together allow the arm to get out to a 90. And they do look at least a little dynamic. Arms based on the way they're jointed work like backwards and forwards butterflies, maximum elbows, wrist swiv and narcissa wrists with opening and closing hands that can actually form a fist, unlike the fucking Ark. Waist still does rotate despite all that's going on in there. Hips are unimpeded backwards and ultra unimpeded forwards and to the sides. Knees pull a slight amount more than a 90, and you can untransform them for maximum. But they can't hold themselves up in this position on their own. And feet with a rocker, rotation, and toe up. So if this was a Voyager or even Leader, this would be excellent. But it's a Titan. It poses so goddamn good, and the size class just makes it all the more impressive. This thing looks like it will reap the souls of everyone it comes across. And just goddamn, this figure is so good. It's everything I've ever wanted a Titan to be. It's huge, it's beautiful, it feels great, it looks cool as shit in both modes, it completes a hole in my collection I never really considered the possibility of filling. It's fun beyond belief, it looks exactly as it should in alt mode, and even if it's not the character that I wanted it to be in robot mode, it still looks cool, and I could probably get an upgrade kit to make it into who I originally wanted it to be, but this is so cool that I don't really care anymore. It's loaded with gimmicks, and it poses like few other figures can, and almost none at this size class. I know people like to bulk at Titan price tags, but $200 is more than fair for this thing. And given the alt mode, I don't know that I can call this a micro masterpiece, but I sure can call it a masterpiece. One of my new favorite figures, this will be on the best of year list. Now, I swear to God, if some incel makes an upgrade kit that gives this thing tits, then we failed as a species. And that's not half what I have to say, but it's enough what I have to say. And I know, you know, what everyone else tells you to do at the end of these videos. So, if you liked what you saw here, please do that. And if you'd like to take it a step further, then please share this video with any friend you think may be interested. I hope you all enjoyed listening to me waste your time.